we have here today is Mark Simon, the VP of Strategy at Celigo, and Rico Andrade. Did I do it wrong? How did I do? VP of
Uh,
Marketing.
yes, and we did add also Kelly Izer, a solution consultant, who's going to be doing the demo of the product here. So he's also with our team.
Okay, perfect. So I will let you, whoever's going first, take it away. And I will stop sharing.
Excellent. Thank you, Katrina. Here, I will go ahead and share my screen. Excellent. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. Excited to get to talk to this audience. A little bit of first introductions on myself and Kelly individually, and then we'll jump in and give a little bit of introduction on Celigo as an organization and our product, and we'll get and then we'll get away with our presentation. So. First of all, as Katrina had mentioned, I'm VP of Strategy here at Celigo. I joined Celigo about 4.5 years ago, but I am originally my background originally started as a software engineer before becoming a co-founder and CTO of an e-commerce company here in Seattle, and then after exiting that, I moved into consulting. And through that process, I took what I'd learned on the operational side around digital transformation and worked with building out what became in our sector one of the leading SaaS-based digital transformation practices. So focused on bringing customers into the cloud through their business systems, and through that worked with about 500 customers. And that was across digital transformation initiatives across our organizations, very often including HR, automation, and transformation initiatives there as part of that. And our projects included everything from system implementations through integration, custom development to support various processes. And we really saw through that process, what worked and what didn't to enable companies to take their processes to the next level, to accelerate as businesses and really digitize successfully. And bring some of that, and a lot of that, hopefully, into the presentation today. Enough about me. Kelly, would you like to give a brief introduction of yourself?
Will do, sir. Thank you very much. So, Kelly Izer, I'm a solutions architect here at Celigo. I have been here about 10 years now working with our integration platform. Prior to joining Celigo, I was actually an end user of many of the Celigo products and such that I am now working with and supporting. I was at a large online retailer where I was the coordinator and operations officer coordinating all of our integrations between our different back-end systems, including HR systems, manufacturing systems, shipping systems, and such. So been in the integration space probably a little over 20-ish years. So I will be here to support Mark, walk you through the demo, and answer any technical questions you may have today. So hello, and nice to meet everyone.
Thanks, Kelly. All right. A little bit about Celigo. Celigo, as I mentioned earlier, we are a software company based in the Bay Area in California, and we are what's known as an integration platform as a service. And I'm sure everyone, if it's not familiar with the term, is thinking IPaaS, another acronym. That's all I need. But it's an industry term for integration platform as a service, a cloud-based solution that's acting as a integration platform, an automation platform for your business. And our focus is on connecting and integrating SaaS applications and also on-premise systems. But we have a particular focus on being what we call iPaaS 2.0, so a modern version of what might have in the past been called middleware or middleware is a common word you'd hear. Legacy iPaaS is often installed on-prem, but we're a true cloud solution, and we're built to actually utilize modern cloud architecture very effectively, and that allows us to be a disruptive player in the industry and be very, very efficient with our resources, and we can pass those savings and effectiveness off onto our customers. At this point, we are processing over 15 billion records for our customers every month. So across that base of 5,000 customers, we are automating over 131,000 active business processes. And that's really what we're trying to do, is automate business processes for our customers. It's not just about moving data. That's the heart of it, but it's about automating those business processes. It often takes a different point of view than just focusing on moving pieces of data here and here. Our success here is validated by our set of customers, which spans everything from the Fortune 50 and some logos you may find familiar here, down through a large number of mid-market companies and into the smaller end of mid-market and SMB. But mid-market and upper mid-market is really where our focus is. And in our success here and our capability to execute on our vision here as an iPaaS solution has been that's been validated by G2 Crowd and some of their awards and rankings, and we really like to focus on those because those are actually based on user reviews and user experience with our platform, and our users love our platform, and that's one of the things we take a lot of pride in. We've all, over the last 2 or 3 years, have seen a tremendous amount of change, and I think one of the singular constants is that it doesn't feel like the change is going to end. It's accelerating. New rules are being written all the time. And one of the big things that came out of the pandemic was an acceleration of digital transformation. And in just 3 months, in the early part of 2020, we saw basically 10 years growth of digital transformation take place in industry. And that's been a complete game changer. And I'm sure as in being in the HR business and HR professional, that's an area where there was a massive impact, even more than a lot of areas of business, because of this very dramatic shift. As we're seeing, some things are coming back. There's a return to more on-site work, but the rules have been rewritten, things have been changed, and that digital transformation need and progress, that's not reversing. That's here to stay. And what we saw is a lot of our customers that we worked with, and also the customers that came to us during this period, new customers, were coming specifically because they saw they were either falling behind or they were ahead and wanted to further emphasize and enhance their competitive positioning through their agility, essentially giving their business teams better capabilities to respond to challenges and keep up with the pace of leveraging new systems, but not just using new systems, but using new systems effectively and efficiently to transform their business processes. And through all that, we saw that automation isn't optional. It's not something that you just an afterthought, and companies can just maybe sort of do if they get around to it. But it's an absolute requirement for companies to not just keep pace, but if they want to lead now, and it's becoming a key competitive advantage for companies that we work with, and leaders in basically all industries are using automation as a key to advance their business, and it's within all departments, and we see a really huge impact here in the HR domain as well. So business process automation was, if we wind back, was a few years, was something that seemed oftentimes pretty simple. It's like, hey, automate your sales channels into your ERP system, maybe plug in your quote HR solution into your ERP, and you're good to go. That's absolutely not the case anymore. And a big part of this is the proliferation of SaaS applications. So within a given organization, now mid-market size company, we often see 100 SaaS applications in active use. And I've often talked to customers about this and mention that, and they'll kind of give me a funny look, and they'll say, "No way." And you just start in a department and you start counting them, and at some departments, you can hit 20 very, very quickly, and you haven't even tried very hard. Like, wow, there must be, and there's so many applications, and it's fantastic. These applications are proliferated. They're solving point business problems. They're bringing best of breed capabilities to teams and making them more efficient. And we see that across all domains, including human resources, and especially there. But this makes automation more complex than ever. There's more needs to interconnect these. And one of the common things we hear from our customers and we see in industry is that companies will often adopt and implement systems, and they don't quite achieve the outcome they wanted. They're like, oh, if we get this thing, if we get this new ATS, it's going to solve all of our problems. Says the department leader, says the HR leader, for example, and then they get it, they implement it, and it's not bad. Things are better and it's improved, but it's not. They don't quite achieve the vision they intended. And one of the biggest reasons for that is they didn't factor in automation. And how is that new system going to connect with the other system? How does the addition of a new system change the landscape in Fabric? And what you want to create out of this with a diagram like this is you need to create a single system out of all the applications in your whether it's in your department, in your domain, whether that's human resources, but also across the whole business. These need to be pulled together so that it's seamlessly one system. And that's the gap, is that lack of connecting those systems and thinking about that in a holistic manner that prevents companies really from getting the value they're looking for. We double click on that concept and we just drill into an HR domain, for example, we see that this is a pretty common scenario that we see, and some industry data backs that concept of applications, the number of applications that are in play. On average, at least 7 applications within HR is typical, regardless of business size, and that's really it's a very reasonable number on one hand, but it also becomes a very unmanageable number on the other if you leave those as data silos. And what we see working with our customers is very often this move to these best of breed solutions, adding them in. It starts with your foundational HRIS application, and then you start picking up things for best of breed. And these applications are fantastic. They solve great problems. But by adding those new applications in, end up with data silos or manual effort, and often both. And we see this really actually amplified in our customers quite a bit. We unfortunately we often see HR organizations lagging a bit behind the rest of the business in some of this automation adoption, and that can lead to an increase in more manual effort, and that again, it comes back to that value from those investments in the systems, the processes, and the people. And you haven't created a single system out of all of the applications that are being implemented. And that's the key really concept that we see, is that thinking as companies adopt, and how are they thinking about this and planning ahead, and ensuring that they're building one system and not creating new silos and new manual processes. So as we look at this, there's some really big opportunities to increase the efficiency within HR teams and how those teams interact with a given business through automation. And we often see HR for our customers. We've seen a lot of HR teams be very almost on a little bit sometimes like a roller coaster. They ramp up during expansion mode rapidly. Then the winds change, so to speak, hiring stops, or maybe there's a reduction in force. Now the number of recruiting staff is reduced. Things are often that the staffing can swing quite a bit. And on the upswing, there's more of a focus on accomplishing the business goals, and it in spite of manual effort. And we often see teams taking on a lot of manual effort and having to add sometimes more people than they really need to. And so this leads to inefficiency, really more headcount than needed within an HR org as it expands, because they're taking on so much manual effort just to get things done, because they're moving things between all the systems. They're having to do things manually. And at any point, it's really important to try to focus on automating as much as possible within that, the integrating the data, because it allows the HR professionals to focus on the high value work and not the data movement, not let the systems and the separation of the systems get in the way. Some examples of this that we see are the first one that comes up is just newly hired applicants and getting that data from the ATS into the HRIS. You often have multiple documents, offer letters. You might have an offer letter. You've got additional documents, maybe an employee handbook that needs to be signed, specific non-compete agreements, whatever they may be. All of the documents need to be tracked and stored appropriately. We often see that being done manually. We've got enrolling the employee in training and benefits. Again, now that's data that needs to get to another system. And this is highly, highly sensitive data. When we think about personally identifiable information, there is no more sensitive PII in an organization than the data around an employee. And without manual processes, the oversight for this often suffers. So it becomes more of a thing that's being done ad hoc, manually. Some of this data, you end up with social security numbers in Excel files somewhere, residing in a text file, whether intentionally or not intentionally, sometimes even an email. And we've seen all of these things, but having good automated processes fills those gaps. So we see within organizations, as they start adopting automation efforts, it typically starts in the order to cash or the quote to cash process, i.e., it's all about getting the money in the door efficiently. So getting the transactions in from the sales channels, getting them booked into the core ERP so that they can either be fulfilled or the revenue can be booked and tracked appropriately, all of the above. And automation within and digital transformation with HR is typically lagging that we see. And yet this is often a mistake in organizations, and that leads to that uneven swing sometimes in an overloading of work for the team that could otherwise be done manually. And it's important to look at this and try to figure out how to leverage HR. And we see some HR teams actually become early adopters in the organization, stepping forward and demanding, hey, how can we automate more quickly? We want to be a leader in the organization. But what's blocking that often is lack of technical know-how within a team, that the transactional volumes between the systems within an HR organization are not as high as, say, maybe order volumes might be for an e-commerce company or a wholesale distribution company, which are doing sometimes thousands or tens of thousands of transactions a day. But those, just because there's lower volumes doesn't mean they're not as important to automate. And then sometimes these initiatives aren't viewed as urgent as the ones that are really tightly tied to revenue. And these are all mistakes that we see in organization, because as everyone here knows, human capital is one of a company's most important assets. And by not building efficient processes and taking the right approach, that really gets in the way of HR teams and the rest of organizations being able to better serve their employees in the best way possible, and maximize that return on their human capital. So how do you change? What's the key to shifting and changing? And it's what we call moving to an automation first mindset. And this is a way of thinking about how you approach your business and your processes in your new system, your systems. And this really gives you a way to leverage and most efficiently optimize any systems you have, your processes that you have, and then ultimately it makes people in an organization more efficient. And this concept is very simple, but we've seen it be tremendously helpful to organizations at any stage of growth. This simple shift to start asking, well, can we automate that? Oh, we're looking at buying this new system. How will new system X fit into our processes? Will it fit in? Will it disrupt the automation we have? Will it increase that? How do we make this into a seamless experience for our employees? And this concept is the single most important takeaway of everything we'll talk about here. It's, can you shift your way of thinking as a department, as an organization? And if you can, this has huge effects on the efficiency and the effectiveness, and allowing your people to do the best work that they can more efficiently, and not get mired in drudgery or get held back by disconnects between their systems. So the way to achieving an automation first methodology is by adopting the right technology. And if you adopt the right technology, that'll allow you to standardize your automation. And we see a lot of different automation approaches out there, and everything we think about integration. We hear a lot about integration. People will think, oh, well, that needs to be, that's coded, and that's very, very technical, and it requires software engineers. And that previously was the case. And even when using a platform, that was the case a few years ago. But Celigo, one of Celigo's key differentiators is we take a different stance on that. We make automation accessible to line of business users. And by doing that, it allows us as an iPaaS to accelerate that digital transformation, that automation first. But the key thing here is to go down that path towards choosing an automation platform and starting there. If you don't have a platform, you're going to have fragmented data. You're going to have different techniques. You're going to really struggle on your data governance and compliance. Data delivery is always going to be challenging. We see customers that come to us looking for an iPaaS that they've very much struggled on monitoring and management of whatever processes they do have in place. And an iPaaS is going to help alleviate that and give you a common platform, both within a department and without an organization, to build out those integrations and move to that automation first methodology. So at Celigo, we come to the iPaaS space with a bit different perspective than a lot of the other options out there, especially the iPaaS 1.0. We think of ourselves as the first of the iPaaS 2.0 breed, and we differentiate there by bringing a point of view on that the platform should be accessible to a non-technical user, so that it should be technical enough for developers to accomplish tasks as needed, but it should be user friendly enough that a line of business user, someone that's managing, say, an HR application, someone that's managing an applicant tracking system, can go in and understand the errors, why data didn't flow properly into the HR, and say, oh, this wasn't right. Oh, something in the ATS wasn't right. They can troubleshoot that and resolve that. Maybe there was a data entry problem that slipped through. Something wasn't set up correctly in the HRIS. But when you have business users able to use an integration platform and do those things, that is really a game changer, and now no longer needs IT technical resources to do every time, and that's a dramatic shift, and that's a key differentiator for us. We bring that capability for those business users. Along with that, we also allow in the embedding of business logic into our automation processes and allow for pre-built solutions that accelerate the process and capture business logic within it, so that you're not starting from scratch every time, that things can be reused within your organization, and also that we can bring pre-built solutions on top of the iPaaS that accelerate the options. And within this, we also allow integration to any type of business application. There's so many modern applications launching, becoming prominent, that it's key that we're able to provide an avenue to integrate and connect to as many of those. And so we offer everything from universal connectors to very specific connectors tailored for a particular application, depending on its prominence. And all of this combined allows our platform to accelerate digital transformation for you. So there's a lot here. When we talk about our iPaaS, I just want to say it is a very robust platform. Our 5,000 customers have proven this out. We are often transmitting data under very commonly moving PII data. We very commonly move mission critical financial transactional data for customers. We have a HIPAA compliant platform. We're very focused on GDPR compliance, et cetera. This is some of the benefits of a full featured platform, is you get those capabilities, and you don't have to worry about it yourself as if you were doing it. And then within that, everything else that a full featured iPaaS would have, we bring to you, and you don't need to worry about a lot of those details. So I mentioned pre-built as being and the embedded business logic as being a differentiator for us. I wanted to give an example of that here, using the employee and onboarding and offboarding process. So we have what we call a business process automation app for ADP, and this allows for the automated provisioning and deprovisioning based on the trigger from ADP across multiple applications. But the business process application bundles up. It already knows some of the common applications that we see. It knows how the data should flow between ADP and those applications, and it comes out of the box with that pre-built, and that sits on top of our platform. So while you could connect anything, any of our HR systems or primary systems using our platform, we also have this pre-built, this jump start for your processes that sits on top, and that lets you move faster and more quickly and less reliant on whether outside resources or more technical resources to build that out. As we work with customers, we like to think of everyone being on what we call an automation journey and moving from everywhere from one end, what we call ad hoc, up through to optimized and empowered. And there's a big jump here in efficiency once companies get to the optimized level, and they're moving beyond just, maybe they've evolved to have central IT, but this is moving beyond, and this is a huge game changer to be able to have what we call federated development in that optimized state, so that you have central IT working with a department like HR, and in empowering HR to use an automation platform, and they're working together both for the management and build out of their integrations. And that's really key. And think about where you are and where you'd want your organization to be, or where you want your clients' organizations to be on this journey. So finally, before we get in and take a look at the product, want to talk about a real world example for a large food retailer that has over $1 billion of revenue, that's a customer of ours. And you might ask yourself, well, why aren't they using their logo and their name? And the reason is, this customer has been working with us for several years, and their movement to an automation first mindset within their throughout their organization, not just within HR, but throughout, was such a game changer for their organization that they consider it a key strategic differentiator. That they view it as a leg up, a significant leg up against their competition, and they don't want to really tip off their competitors that their focus on automation first, automating, leveraging modern iPaaS has been a key to their success. One of the things I love about this story as we get into it is how much efficiency it brought them. They have 50 to 60 hires that are onboarded, offboarded in a given week across multiple locations, and this was resulting in multiple people focusing. It added up to multiple full-time equivalents just moving data around to facilitate this. There was a tremendous amount of time card management and notification across hundreds of employees. And this was causing huge problems in their organization. And then they were also lacking good visibility into metrics and in analytics in order to get accurate labor forecasting. And so by taking an automation first approach and adopting an iPaaS, they were able to build out the integrations between the applications, be able to get key data, not only flowing between their HR applications, but into their ERP, and importantly into a data warehouse that gave them the ability to do this and now get visibility into forecasting they couldn't do, really was just done like in a very manual intensive manner in spreadsheets. And they're all able to do this with a very small technical team internally, and leveraging the line of business resources in the HR team as well. So with that, I'll pause and give Kelly an opportunity to actually show you what our product looks like.
Perfect. Thank you, Mark. So let me go ahead and I'm going to share my screen here. Let me get to the proper screen. Here we go. So this is what our actual platform looks like. Now, again, I've been here about 10 years, so my demo environment has multiple integrations already set up, but this would give you a good understanding and kind of a snapshot of what one could look like. And what you can see I have set up here are multiple what we call integration tiles. So you can see they may represent my different integrations or automations with different systems I may be working with. Now you can see from this view right here in the center, excuse me, it gives you a quick overview into how things are working within your different integrations. Of course, if everything is working well, you have the nice green success notifications. As Mark was stating, we do have error management. So as data is being processed from one application to another, if there are any errors that occur as that data is being processed, we can take those errors and present them to end users. Those can be presented either here directly within the application. So here, if you see within your flow, for example, creating users, there were errors. You can see what step. Those error messages can be presented right here within the UI, or those can also be pushed to users' inboxes and give them alert notifications there. And we can also take and post these out to other channels like Slack channels, Teams boards, or whatever. So, we make it very easy to manage that aspect of integrations there. We also have connection management. So you can see here, before processing data, we make sure your endpoints are online. That way we ensure there's no data loss due to, a down connection or such. So this is just a couple of the things that you're going to get just by starting with an iPath that you don't have to worry about. With that diagram that Mark was showing where he had, everything was automated. The goal of our application here is to, I always use silly analogies, but basically it'll be a lot like your breaker box in your house. Get everything configured, set up, working as expected. Then you're able to walk away, know it's doing its job in the background, and then allow you to focus on your business itself and not, what's going on behind the scenes. Do I need to make sure the files are coming across and such? So, and this is again, this is a dashboard that'll let you manage that. As Mark was stating, having done this, having over 5,000 customers, having done many of these integrations thousands of times, what we have done is with our iPass here, we've made our marketplace, and I can take this out of the search filter, which filters things down, but you can see we have multiple applications here, and this is where we have already came in and made some templates or integrations to help jumpstart it. Integrations. So you don't start from scratch every time. These are known and proven business processes that we have laid out here in order to make this functionality work. So you can see here, like with ADP, we have many flows built around these different applications you see here. But if you don't see a system, as a core iPass, what we also have the ability to work with any other applications out there. So what we're able to do, and now I'm going to walk you through sort of a process here that I set up previous to this call so that during the demo, I can quickly jump in and keep this moving along. But basically, sort of the use case scenario I built out was we've got an employee file from ADP, either provisioning or deprovisioning, so either onboarding or offboarding a employee. What we can do is, first off, I wanted to take it, I'm going to post it into a Slack channel so that you get notification. Hey, there's a new employee. Do you want to accept or reject them? Then, depending on what you do, we're going to have a flow run, and I'm going to show you here. In my case, what I'm going to do is we're either going to provision in Salesforce and a Zendesk user or deprovision. So what that looks like here is if I jump over to my flows here, I've already built out the flows, of course, to function as needed. But what I can do is we'll go in, you'll see here's the flow that we can set. We can run it on a schedule. If we want, we could say, great, I want this to run every 15 minutes to look for an employee file coming in from ADP. When I take that file, what I'm going to do is I have it set up to map into Slack, however I may need it. And then here we can see our mappings, right? And this is where users have control over this. So again, this isn't a black box. There is configuration available if needed. But we're going to take that file, we're going to post it over to ADP to give the user the notification. So I'm just going to run this here real quick, kick that off. And you're going to see I just selected the run now function. So what that'll do, that's now putting that in progress. And if I wanted to, I can even drill in a little bit deeper. And you can see I can see each step. It says it successfully got my file and posted my message into Slack there. So now if I go over to my Slack channel, there's my notification. It now says, great, there's new employee for approval. Do you want to approve or reject them? So now what I have it doing is, depending on what I select here, my next step that I set up for automation is I'm going to go in and here's my provision users. If they're a new user, they can be provisioned. So I'm going to pick up the file again, go into Salesforce, create a user, and create that user in Zendesk. So the user I'm using in this file here, you can see is Bruce Banner. So right now, if we look over in Salesforce, there's no Bruce Banner. Over here in my Zendesk, there's no Bruce user here as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here to ADP or Slack. I'm going to click on approve. Now, what that did just by clicking that is that triggered our integration to receive that hook there. So now this is a new user. You're going to see if I refresh this, it picked that up and is processing the data accordingly. So now it's going to go out to my Salesforce instance, programmatically create that user, go to Zendesk, programmatically create that. And that's all based off of, again, we can open up the settings. And this is where during implementation, you have control over how this is set up. So for like in Salesforce, we can make sure all the fields are set appropriately. What role are they assigned to and things to that nature. So by running that, go ahead and close this in. You can see now if I go over here to Salesforce, I'm going to refresh this. And there is Bruce. He has been created. He's currently active within the system. If I go over here to my Zendesk account, refresh it, you can see there's Bruce. He's now been created. So simply coming in, setting that up, it's now automated. So if you imagine, every 15 minutes, if your file's there, you can receive it, approve them, and then everything is automated behind there. So let me now say, let's say it's 6 months later and Bruce has moved on. He's moved out to another company or such. So now we are going to deprovision him. So what that means is we get a file coming in, let's say from ADP. Your HR team goes into ADP, sets that employee as inactive. So we would receive that file from ADP. We could go in, same thing. We could have it come into Slack if you wanted to. You can really go wherever you want. If you wanted to immediately deprovision, that's fine. But what we could do is, if you came in, say, okay, we're going to deprovision, we can select what we call reject there, or however you want to build a business process around it. That's another one of the nice things is we have the ability to work with your business process. We're really flexible in that regard, so we can work with you there. But now you can see here, my deprovisioning process is kicking off. And what this is doing is it's going through all the appropriate steps out there in your end systems. So like Salesforce, we got to freeze the user, then deactivate them. Then I went into Zendesk, and it just goes through the process. This is already set up. Any tickets assigned to that user, they're going to be reassigned. And then we go in and deactivate, or basically degrade that role is what happens in Zendesk. So just by executing that flow there, now if I come back over here to Salesforce, if we refresh this, you can see here, Bruce has now been deactivated. If I come back over to my Zendesk instance, refresh this, you can see that Bruce is no longer an active agent within this Zendesk instance. So that's just a very simple use case we set up there to highlight that, that entire process can be automated. As Mark was stating earlier, I just used 2 use cases, Salesforce and Zendesk there. But this can also be used to quickly expand out to other applications that you may want to use here. We've got a couple listed here in the dropdown that quickly add in and say, oh, maybe you're using Microsoft Active Directory, needs to be provisioned. Go out to Okta if you want to create an Okta user. So you can quickly expand this to other applications as well. But again, thought concept here is what you just saw can just be completely automated. Once it's set up, it runs on a schedule and simply processes those records and moves them accordingly. So hence helps significantly speed up your onboarding or offboarding process as needed. So Yeah, let's see. I didn't see any chats, any questions, but that's how we can use the platform in order to automate that for you.
That's fantastic, Kelly. Thank you. One thing I saw there was I didn't see you having to write a lot of code in there to manage this or make this work. Is that really the case? Can someone that's not a developer get in here and manage this on a daily basis?
Very much so. We built this as a low code, no code type integration where the user can come in and again, like in this regard right here, a non-technical user, if there was an error, you can come in and say, oh, there was an error with, let's say, this flow. It's very easy to understand what's happening. We're getting our file. We're posting it to Slack. As you can see, there's no code involved here. It's all visual right here. Your mappings are right here. So maybe there's a mapping error. Again, you don't have to code this. Our application takes care of saying, okay, here's your file. Here's your fields coming in from your data source. Where do you want those to go when you post those in this regard, like to Slack, for example? So again, no code. We present this to a user, very easy to understand, very easy to work with and manage as necessary. Now, that being said, this is a full-blown developer's tool. If you want to get more advanced, the application does allow a user to go to that level. But initially, we've taken the first look at the application as a no-code, low-code type environment that a user can understand. As we were saying, if they wanted to add in another step, it's very easy. You click the plus, add another destination. The application is going to say, great, where do you want to post the data to? And you can see we have a list of either databases and a long list of applications here we work with. So again, a user can follow these prompts through to post data into another endpoint if necessary. So it's a good point, Mark. This is a very low code, no code type environment that's easy to manage by both technical and non-technical users.
I think I see the questions being posed here. I'm happy to jump in here and go through a few of these right now. We've got one kind of wrap up slide that we can do at the end.
Sure,
but
sorry.
I'd rather answering these questions would be great, and kind of I'd love to get back to everybody here. The first one I saw is look like Ward asked, shifting to automation first culture. Do you work with advisory firms who can help companies with digital transformations? The answer to that is definitely that is we have a existing partner network of both strategic channel partners for us and also a referral network, and we work literally with every type of and size of organization you can think of. So everything from very specialized orgs and that are working in one particular business domain, like HR consulting, for example, that might be doing management consulting or advisory work. We have some groups that are very small, and they specialize just in advisory, for example. Other ones, and up through big global GSIs. So we really work with the whole spectrum there, and happy to partner with somebody on that. Especially when we can sit down and look at what you're seeing in the market and be able to help you understand where we can fit in and help your go-to-market process. Let's see. I see another one here. Oh, there's a question about HIPAA, FedRAMP. We do not have FedRAMP certification yet. I know it's on our roadmap. We haven't done a lot of integration into governmental organizations. We have done some, but it hasn't been a main vertical focus of it yet. But it's an area of growth we're exploring. And I'd actually love to hear more about that. And if it's okay, I would love to connect with whoever asked that question, because it's something we'd love to have a better understanding of, because if you see opportunity there, that's something we can certainly accelerate.
Yeah, that was me, Katrina. But also, I was surprised. I don't think I've heard from any of the other vendors that they have that they're HIPAA certified. So that was kind of a niche that rang in my head. That's the only reason why I asked the FedRAMP. I'm like, well, maybe they have everything. The FedRAMP is required usually when you have to work with certain end users. Another question was, most of the presentation was kind of from the single organization view. If I am an ISV, is there a way for me to view, like switch from one customer to another in the platform?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, specific to ISVs, we have what we call a tech partner program, which is customized pricing specifically for independent software vendors that need to integrate to their customers. So we can do just that. So within the platform, those concepts of those tiles that you saw Kelly show, those tiles can be applied typically we see that applied at a customer level. So you could have hundreds or thousands of customers in there, and you can leverage. We have quite a bit of reuse in our platform. So you could build customized. You could start out with building platform flows, so flows on the iPaaS that are really custom to your software, connecting to the applications that your customer needs. But then you can clone those. So you can clone those and reuse those, and then that's sort of the baby step. And then you elevate those to templates, and then we even have something called integration applications that's where the embedded business logic is coming in, and it has more wizards similar to what that some of the on that onboarding tool that Kelly showed. And you can then build that out. So you can go in multiple steps to build something very reusable as an ISV, but also have a tremendous amount of flexibility. So, and that's one of the things we see paramount with the ISVs we work with. They need something fast, rapid to deploy, quick time to value, but they also need to be able to address some very, very specific and customized needs at times. And we're one of the very few platforms that can do both. In closing here, one of the things we do through this process is work with our partners or customers, whether they're ISVs or they are individual organizations, and apply a methodology that we've created that's specific to us. And the reason it's specific to us is we've taken the experience from over 20,000 implementations, and we've seen that most companies in the iPaaS space are focusing kind of halfway down this chain. They focus on starting the project at architecture and implementation of the integrations, but they're really only solving half the problem. We, as an organization, we focus at the beginning on helping a customer assess their business process readiness and their endpoint application readiness while they're building their foundational knowledge on the platform. And we do this for a multitude of reasons, but it's because if you don't have a solid business process, you're just automating. To be honest, you can be automating garbage. So you can create more of the problems you already have, and then in turn, if you didn't implement your endpoints properly, your integration is going to fail as well if it doesn't match the endpoints, if it isn't taking into account all your key use cases. And so this is something that, as a point of view, that is really critical for success, and we help customers focus on. And in addition, we realize that customers need to build capability on our platform, and so we provide a full what we call Celigo University via learning management system to give customers multiple levels of certification and guided training, whether it's on their own to the university or through workshops. And it's a combination of these really feels that's our approach to implementation of PART, and helps get customers more successful.
Thank you very much, guys, for your presentation. Let me pull up the slides for in between here.
Yeah, really good. Thank you. And the demo is really cool to see, because we don't get to see that very often, and seeing is believing sometimes too, right? So nice job on that.